Who is the strongest character in all of One Piece? This is a debate that has raged on within the fanbase for at least the last 25 years. This is mostly because there are so many questions that we have still yet to receive an answer for. Within the last year, we have seen some of the top tier One Piece characters finally reveal some of their power feats. These are individuals like the Marine hero Garp, former Marine Admiral Aokiji, current Marine Admiral Ryugoku, and additionally every single Yonko who has found themselves within a conflict in one way or another. So with more information than ever before, I've decided that this is the perfect time to break down and analyze some of the strongest pirates, marines, and revolutionaries who are currently sailing the seas of One Piece. So far on my channel, I've investigated the incredible strength of both the legendary Marine Vice Admiral and the former rival to the Pirate King, Monkey D. Garp, as well as one of the newly crowned Yonko and the world's strongest swordsman, Hawkeye Mihawk. Since those videos were so well received, for today's video, I decided to dive into a character who is also discussed alongside the legendary swordsman Hawkeye Mihawk. This individual was also the original inspiration behind Luffy's dream of becoming the Pirate King. I'm of course talking about the former crewmate of Roger, the current Yonko and leader of the red-haired pirates, Shanks. Shanks has been an integral part of the One Piece story since the very first chapters of the series, and despite his extremely limited number of appearances, whenever we do see him, it is incredibly impactful. From his early days acting as a cabin boy on Goldie Roger's ship to his position standing at the peak of power in the One Piece world as one of the emperors of the sea, Shanks' life has seen him steadily and continuously grow at every opportunity. And while a lot of the interim of his life is still shrouded in mystery, including his origins, we are finally now at a point in time where we can confidently say just how strong we think that the red-haired Yonko truly is. But to start with, we first need to dive into the only method that we had for years to judge Shanks' strength, which is his reputation. For the longest time, the only thing that we had to judge Shanks' power was the opinions and reactions of those within the One Piece world who had seen and interacted with him. And while sometimes this could simply be a reference to how strong Shanks is from individuals who know him best, this could also be him applying his reputation to influence some of the biggest events in the world, namely the Marineford War. I'm sure that I don't have to explain here just how significant of an event the Marineford War was. Even just looking at the names involved in the conflict, like Whitebeard, Marco the Phoenix, 6 of the 7 warlords of the sea, all of the Marine admirals, Blackbeard, Garp, Sengoku, and all of the prisoners Luffy had aided in his escape from Impel Down, they should indicate the scale of the battle that had taken place. Despite all of this, despite the incredible ambitions and strength of everybody who was taking part, the ultimate end to this massive conflict came from a single request from Shanks and the promise that anyone who wishes to continue to fight can do so against him and his crew. This level of influence was drawn solely from the fear that everybody had about going up against Shanks and his crew. With saying as few words as possible, this quickly made us understand what level that Shanks was at within the One Piece world. I don't think a greater feat has been accomplished within the series based entirely on the reputation of a character. He had such a broad influence that the major powers of the world had to lay down their weapons at his command. This kind of prestige is something that we see even further in his meetings with the Gorosei, and while fans have come up with several theories as to why Shanks was allowed to meet with the ultimate powers of the world government, one of the key reasons must be that he has an extreme level of strength which had commanded even the respect of the 5 great elders. Another major part of Shanks' reputation is his status as a Yonko. Being classed as one of the emperors of the sea is not something that you can decide for yourself. It is instead an announcement to the world that this pirate is so dangerous, so powerful, that they are essentially one of the rulers of the new world. And while recently this title has been distributed a bit more liberally, with first Luffy being declared as the 5th emperor despite definitively lacking the strength to justify it, and now with Buggy holding onto one of the emperor positions, there has never been any doubt within the fanbase that Shanks was well deserving of his position as one of the 4 strongest pirates who are currently active in the world at this time. Calling back to one of my earlier videos that I posted about how strong Hawkeye Mihawk truly is, Whitebeard himself had talked about Shanks' epic battles against Mihawk. And while Mihawk may no longer consider Shanks as a rival due to the loss of his arm, the fact that he was at one point considered comparable to the strongest swordsman in the world is an incredibly massive compliment. This is especially the case when we ranked Mihawk to confidently be among the top 10 strongest characters in the entire world, possibly even within the top 5, with Shanks rivaling this legendary figure in the past, and seemingly only having become even stronger since then, so we need to ensure that Shanks is considered at a similar level to Mihawk. Now, reputation can only go so far when we're discussing the true level of a character's strength. The real metric that we need to focus on here is their actions. Throughout the series, Shanks has a number of impressive feats that we can look to, but first I want to talk about some events which could work against him in a power scaling discussion. So I have only managed to find two things which could be held against Shanks, the first of which is perhaps unsurprisingly the loss of his arm. Shanks gave up his arm to the Lord of the Coast at the very start of One Piece. He had given up his limb in order to save Luffy's life. Shanks may not have been a Yonko at this time, but he was already in his 20s at this point, and a well-established pirate who had a strong crew. There is absolutely no reason that a New World pirate who is adept in the use of haki would have been slow enough to be caught by the Lord of the Coast's attack, let alone lose his arm from it. I mean, it's as ridiculous as saying that current Luffy would lose a limb to a relatively small Sea King from one of the Blues. It just doesn't make sense. Despite being such a significant part of Shanks' backstory, I honestly think that the loss of his arm is something that needs to be disregarded whenever a discussion is brought up surrounding how strong he is. Unfortunately, the fact is he lost his arm nearly 500 chapters before haki became the nailed down concept that it is today. In general, haki is one of the reasons why there is so many inconsistencies that you can find in early One Piece if you know where to look. There are similar issues with Luffy managing to defeat both Crocodile and Gecko Moria pre-time skip, when it absolutely makes no sense for him to be able to do so based on the knowledge that we have now. Crocodile was a New World pirate who once fought against Whitebeard, and therefore should have been competent enough in armament and observation haki that no amount of creativity on Luffy's part would have allowed him to win that fight. The same holds true for Gecko Moria, who back in his prime had fought against Kaido over ownership of Wano and had lived to tell the tale. Again, this is pretty equivalent to one of the current Straw Hats being beaten by a Grand Line rookie who doesn't know haki. It just doesn't make sense when you think about it. Since Shanks losing his arm is obviously a major plot point that was made well before the main power system of One Piece was established, I don't think that it should be used against him. The second negative point that I have against Shanks is the triple scar that he has on his face. We know that Shanks received this injury from Blackbeard at some point between Gold D. Roger's execution and his time spent in Fuchsia Village. This of course is when he had met Luffy. Shanks had openly told Whitebeard that he wasn't being careless when he received the attack, meaning that Blackbeard was simply strong enough to inflict a clearly severe wound on the future Yonko. While receiving a serious injury from Blackbeard wouldn't be too surprising for anyone in the current day, this was Blackbeard without any devil fruit powers back when he was simply a crewmate within the Whitebeard pirates. Even during Marineford, we had seen how easily outclassed Blackbeard was compared to a near-death Whitebeard, so there was still a considerable strength disparity when compared to a Yonko. This means that at the time that he had given Shanks his signature scar, he couldn't have been all that strong in the grand scheme of things. When you think about it, all of this had happened around 15 years ago though, so it's hard to apply these two negative points to judge how strong Shanks currently is. Let's begin by talking about the very impressive things that Shanks has achieved within the series, starting with his fight against Kaido. While this is a battle that had taken place off screen, we are informed that Kaido, King of the Beast, was quickly making his way to Marineford in order to join in with the war that was taking place, that is until Shanks had personally intervened to cut him off. Even without knowing the specific events within the battle, the fact that Shanks and his crew arrived at Marineford only a short while later completely unharmed indicates just how strong Shanks must be, especially with the recent Wano arc demonstrating to us just how incredibly destructive Kaido really is. Now Shanks has come up against other Yonko, as we had seen with his meeting with Whitebeard in the lead up to the Marineford War. Shanks' Conqueror's haki had managed to knock out the vast majority of Whitebeard's crew, which while small in number is still no easy feat to achieve. This may seem unimpressive when compared with Luffy's achievement of knocking out 50,000 fishmen during the Fishman Island arc, but then it must be remembered that Oda said if Shanks was in the same situation, he would have been able to knock out 100,000 fishmen. Shanks and Whitebeard eventually ended up clashing, and their attacks were so immense that they split the heavens themselves. The only other times that we have seen anything comparable to this is during the Wano arc, when Luffy and Kaido had clashed with attacks channeling their Conqueror's haki. It goes without saying that feats like this are only limited to the strongest people in the world. Additionally, Additionally, before the end of the Marineford War, Shanks had personally stepped in to prevent Akainu from killing Kobe for calling for a ceasefire. Blocking an attack from an admiral is no small feat, especially one which Oda has given the most destructive devil fruit in the world to. Shanks' antagonism towards admirals doesn't end here, as he had found issue with Admiral Ryugoku's one-man invasion of Wano. Despite being miles away, Shanks had managed to overwhelm Ryugoku with his immense Conqueror's Haki, causing the admiral to retreat from Wano rather than face off against him. To this day, I would consider this to be the most impressive display of Conqueror's Haki that has been shown in the series thus far. Now, before I get into the final, most impressive feat that Shanks has ever shown us, I want to cover the questionably canon events of One Piece Film Red. We learn within this movie that Shanks is known for his ability to kill future sight, preventing anyone with the ability from accurately predicting his movements as they would with anyone else. This is something that no one else has ever been shown to be capable of doing, and it's an especially significant ability when some of the strongest characters in One Piece have been shown to use future sight during their battles. We also see Shanks relatively easily overwhelm Kizaru during the film, though as per usual, it's hard to tell just how serious the laid-back admiral was taking this fight. So coming back to the manga, we have what may be just one of the strongest attacks that has ever been shown in the series, and this is Shanks' Divine Departure. With this one attack, Shanks managed to knock out both Captain Kidd and his first mate Killer. This is utterly insane given how strong Killer and Kidd are, fresh off of the back of their impressive display in Wano. To defeat people as strong as them in a single blow at the same time is a level of strength that just hasn't been shown by anyone else thus far. The closest comparison would be Kaido's decimation of Luffy early in the Wano arc, where he had defeated him with one attack. The difference in strength between the Luffy of that time and the present day Kidd and Killer is also very significant, as it makes Shanks' achievement even greater. We also see Shanks use future sight during this battle, using it in order to see the level of destruction that Kidd was about to cause before deciding to eliminate him with an attack that was charged with Conqueror's Haki. As One Piece nears its end, it's only likely that we're going to see even more of Shanks' strength in the months and chapters to come, because his route towards the One Piece is covered with enemies that are waiting to take him down. So for now, let's look at everything that we have covered within this video thus far in order to answer just how strong is Redhead Shanks. First, Shanks likely has the strongest Haki in the entire series. He has frequently displayed the most impressive feats with his intimidation of Ryugoku and his defeat of Kidd and Killer, as well as comments from Oda putting him into a level of his own compared to the other One Piece characters. When we consider that the strongest attacks in the series all now seem to be ones which incorporate the user's Conqueror's Haki, it would make sense that the person with the strongest Haki would therefore be capable of the strongest attacks, making Shanks an even more terrifying opponent than you might expect, as Kidd had quickly found out. Second, Shanks is strong enough to have even the strongest character in the world wary of facing off against him. Even individuals like Blackbeard and Akainu, who appear to be fearless even when they are up against the likes of Whitebeard, had given up during Marineford when faced with the prospect of battling against Shanks and his crew. Ryugoku can also be added here, with him being willing to attack Wano even with the presence of everyone who had just overthrown Kaido, but had quickly retreated when he had become aware that Shanks was nearby. Now lastly, Shanks has the unique ability of completely restricting the use of future sight, which could prove to be a deciding advantage in a battle against a very strong opponent. It's hard to predict whether if Shanks has any other unique abilities relating to Haki. With everything that we have talked about thus far, I don't think it's controversial to say that Shanks is the strongest in the entire series. With him being able to easily defeat Kidd and Killer, it's far beyond what any other character has shown us thus far, and his display of Conqueror's Haki is unmatched also. This doesn't necessarily mean that he is definitively the strongest in the series, because we have still yet to see the true power of Blackbeard following the time skip, and we've not even seen anything from most of the Gorosei and the mysterious Imsama. And then you also have individuals like Monkey D. Dragon, as well as the relatively unknown Man Marked by Flames, all of whom could prove to be equal or if not stronger than Shanks. Even taking all of this into account, I still believe that Shanks will find himself in the top 3 most powerful characters in One Piece, and he is most certainly one of the most powerful characters in the story who doesn't possess the Devil Fruit. So we've reached the point of the video where I want to hand over the discussion to all of you. Just how strong do you think Shanks is? Do you agree with how I have ranked him within this video? video? Or do you think that there are points that I haven't mentioned which are either for or against how strong Shanks is? Let me know your thoughts in the comments and leave me some recommendations as to what other characters you want me to power scale from One Piece. It's a really exciting time to be a One Piece fan, as a lot of the mysteries that have been dormant for the last 20 years are finally being unearthed and answered. I'm really looking forward to seeing how the story progresses, and I hope to see all of you subscribing to the channel so that we can cover this incredible story together. Lastly, thank you for making it to the end of this video, and I cannot wait to see you in my next One Piece video. A massive thank you goes out to all of my amazing Patreon supporters for helping to make this video possible. If you also want to support the channel and see your name in the end of my videos, then check out my Patreon, which has loads of perks like early video access and so much more. Thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.